the reaction that business owners have when they truly understand what their culture is versus what they think it is. They're always shocked. Apple and Google, they also have it right. Apple has an unbelievable culture of fanatic fans all over the planet.
Hi, this is Barry Saltzman and welcome to Culture Shock. Today I am very excited to have Eric Edelsberg here from CultureFit. Eric is a professional in the staffing and recruiting business, and coincidentally his company is called CultureFit, no coincidence to Culture Shock. And today we're going to learn a little bit about the importance of culture as it pertains to people in the staffing and the recruiting business. So Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Excited to learn more about your side of the business.
Absolutely.
So tell us, let's start with, tell us a little bit about your business and kind of what you guys do for a living.
Sure, absolutely. So CultureFit Technology Staffing, we are based out of Deerfield. We are primarily focused in the greater Chicagoland area. For us, that business is Milwaukee down to the city and the surrounding suburbs in between. That's probably 90% of what we do. We do IT recruiting across the board. What that means is permanent direct placements of IT professionals, along with contract positions and contract to hire. There are really three levels which we focus in. The first is the VPC level search. So with larger organizations, CTOs, CIOs, vice presidents of development, that is about 10% of what we do. We're really heavily inundated into anyone who touches or is in and around the software development lifecycle. So that is really heavy on applications and infrastructure teams. That can mean anybody from a help desk level 2 person that's making somewhere in the range of $45,000 to $50,000 a year, all the way up to an enterprise solutions architect that could be making somewhere between $160,000 and $200,000 a year. That is the meat and potatoes of what we do.
Got it. So obviously you deal with people all the time.
Absolutely.
Both at the customer side and the new hire side.
Yes.
So when we think about culture, what is your definition of culture as it pertains to your business?
Very, very interesting question, because CultureFit Technology Staffing has a unique culture in and of itself. I mean, we are a boutique staffing firm, so our company is about 20 employees, and when we staff our own company, we're looking for very specific characteristics. We are not a big behemoth. We are not your typical, corporation that is suit and tie every day. So we look for factors in individuals: competitiveness, drive to succeed, being able to bring an entrepreneurial quality to the organization. When you're smaller, you kind of need that. To me, culture is, what is it that you're doing? How do you kind of approach your work? And does that align with what the company is looking for?
So when you talk to your clients, how often does the word culture even come up in conversation?
All of the time. I mean, literally, that is the basis of our business, and that's where we've carved out our niche in the marketplace. Is IT staffing over the last 20 years has changed dramatically. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you saw the Super Bowl commercial with Greg Gumbel and Katie Couric. They did the 1994
Yes,
with the didn't even know what the internet was, and technology has really, really changed over the past 25, 30 years, and that has a lot to do with the culture of these organizations, building out these IT teams, and what it is that those specific employees are looking for. So within an IT environment, the culture is going to be different than the accounting environment within the same organization. So culture comes up all of the time.
So with the younger generation and the millennials that are typically filling a lot of these technology positions, what are some terms that come up when you talk about culture?
Sure. Work-life balance. That's huge. When you have people that are dealing in technology and all the things that can potentially go wrong, it's not always your typical workday, right? It's not the 9 to 5 type of experience all of the time. You have to be on call during the weekends. What happens if a server goes down? You have to be available. But with that said, organizations that are really succeeding and getting top talent know how to create a work-life balance. So that's one thing that's huge. Collaborative teamwork, especially within the development sector, enormous. These developers want to work with other developers. They want to learn. They want to enhance their skill set. They can't do that by themselves most of the time. They want to be around others that do that. So that's a huge piece of it. And then you have typical things that all of us deal with, right? Commute times. It's crazy in Chicago right now with the weather and the snow. I live in Grays Lake. Me driving down to the city every day, probably not realistic. So you've got the commute times, the compensation, benefits, all of your typical indicators that most people work, and look for in culture. But then specific to IT, you have some additional items as well.
So many of the business owners that I deal with are, baby boomers, and some baby boomers have a struggle dealing with millennials. So when you're recruiting for a company and you're dealing with say an older school traditional baby boomer type, and you have a great candidate who's a millennial that, doesn't want to work 9 to 5 and wants to have cool technology, how do you talk to the client and get them to understand the importance of this culture thing with the generation they're trying to hire?
Sure. It's definitely a consultative type of process. It depends how inundated that specific hiring manager is with what's going on right now with the millennials. But it definitely takes some time for them not only to understand what it is that these people are working for. Like, are you offering work remotely once or twice a week? Do you have flex hours? What type of coffee are you serving? Is there collaborative lunch times for these people? When we go back to developers specifically, do they have time to develop their own code outside of kind of what the business is doing? That's very important to developers. And then there's a huge timing piece in all of this too, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But it's a process to really let them know what the top developers are looking for, because it's one thing to get the talent. It's one thing to hire the talent. It's a totally separate issue to keep the talent.
Right. So give an example, I know we're getting close to the end here, give an example of a time that it worked really well and a time that it didn't work from the perspective of you had a great candidate, but the employer couldn't get the person hired because there was not a good culture fit.
Sure. So I can provide 2 examples within the same company. We work, all across the board, from tech startups to, large multi-billion-dollar organizations. I'm working with a client right now in the commercial real estate sector, and their IT department is much like a smaller kind of startup technology. Very collaborative, very laid back. The dress code is casual. We had one individual who is used to more of a buttoned-up environment, and just the way that this client specifically works with their team and who they're collaborating with other business users within the organization. This individual, it wasn't in where he was comfortable. He'd never done it before. He didn't totally like the laid-back environment.
So you're saying the candidate wasn't comfortable in the environment?
Exactly.
Okay, so there wasn't a good culture fit from the candidate side.
Correct.
Got it.
Same company, different candidate, used to a smaller kind of tech startup feel and environment, easily and very seamlessly walked in there, and that this was the type of place he could be in because of some other factors, room for growth, potential to enhance his skill set, was a perfect fit for the organization.
Got it.
And that type of scenario happens all of the time.
Got it. So a lot of great information. Obviously, you do this every day. So share with the folks what your kind of final thoughts are. You're an employer. You're trying to hire a team of people, and you're an expert in this. What are some things that they should absolutely pay attention to get that next person hired?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing is really having all of your ducks in a row. You need to know what it is specifically that you're looking for, what your budget is, what the interview timeline is. The industry moves incredibly fast. If you can't go from start to finish on a permanent direct hire within a 2 business week time period, you're behind the 8 ball. You're not going to attract the talent and be able to get the top tier people if you can't move quickly. So it's doing the front end work. It's really making sure that everyone in the organization who's going to have a say in who's being hired is on the same page. Making sure that you understand where compensation levels are. This being a candidate's marketplace right now, compensation levels might be quite a bit higher than what your current team has or what you're used to. So really fully understanding the marketplace. And then being able to sell a story, because the candidates have multiple places to choose on where to work. You got to sell your company. You got to sell your story. Why is somebody going to want to work here? It's not a one-sided interview like it used to be, especially when it comes to IT. It is you're selling your company, your story. how this person can fit in, and where they can grow.
Good. So Eric just shared some great ideas, and obviously he and his company is doing a phenomenal job in the marketplace. So I would listen to some of his advice if you're looking to hire some new people. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure seeing you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Barry.